Hi, I am excited to film this video. uh, so, it is a rough time in America right now, and uh, if you are struggling with the current political climate, hang in there. We'll make it. We'll get through this. If you're trans, you have to live. Don't forget that. Um, so, yeah, the reason I'm excited is, man, this is really close to my face today. Oh well. I hope the audio isn't like doing something crazy. Um, I want to talk about my relationship that lasted 5 years. My family, really. That lasted 5 years. We broke up in 2022, met in 2017. Um, and I don't know, I just wanted to talk about them because I miss them and they were a huge part of my life for a long time, and they were um, one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Um, so, for those who don't know, I'm bisexual, queer, trans man. I did not realize I was trans at the time. I only knew about my bisexuality, um, and um, I met these two women who were married. We met on a Yuri on Ice Discord server, if you can believe it. um, and they're married, and so obviously at the time I was like, oh, they're cute. I'm gonna leave them alone, because um, yeah, uh, pretty standard, ethical decision on my part. But we started talking. Um, I'm gonna call them because I don't want to say anyone's names. My ear is popping weirdly. I'm gonna call them girlfriend A and girlfriend B. Spoilers for the story. We get together. Shocking. Um, and girlfriend, or well, I should say at this point we were not dating. Um, Girl B was talking to me, and we started like, you know, talking about stuff, getting to know each other. Um, Girl A, I guess, had an interest in me, and I was talking with her too. And wow, my phone is going the fuck off right now. I'm gonna ignore it because I don't want to deal with it. And so girl A decided to talk to girl B and see if they wanted to. I guess they'd been talking about opening up their relationship for a while, in ethical non-monogamy. And they both took a liking to me and asked me out. And I was kind of nervous because it was, at the time, I was still grappling with my bisexuality. And oh my God, my ear is like popping so much. It's really annoying. Can't think. um, I was struggling with my bisexuality at the time, and I was really scared to say yes because there was a part of me that was like, if I know I like girls, but if I actually date girls, I'm gonna go to hell. um, but I decided to say yes. We kept the relationship a secret for a bit, and we would talk like every day. We made like a Discord group for the three of us. I found out they had two kids, um, who I'm also not going to say the names of, even though I kind of wish I could, just because it's been a while since I've been able to talk about them, um, and I miss them a lot. Um, So they had two girls. At the time, they were like 3, almost 4, and like 6 or 7. I'm the worst. I cannot remember dates or numbers. I'm so bad with those things. I don't know. I can't remember anyone's birthday ever. Like, I don't even remember my parents' birthdays. I know like what month they're in, but and what holidays they're like near, but like I cannot. I'm terrible with birthdays. I remember the kids' birthdays, but I don't remember what year they were born. But yeah, so like pretty young, like 3, 4, and then 6-ish. And so me and girlfriend A and girlfriend B started we started dating, and they lived in Canada. So, and I live in the United States. So the first issue was, how do we do this? How, you know, and then we found out, luckily, that even despite being in different countries, the distance was not that far between where they lived and where I lived, which was nice. So, yeah, we started dating, and they were just everything to me. They helped me learn so much, and they were with me through so much. One of girlfriend B was a trans woman, and so they had gotten married before girlfriend B realized she was trans, and then had the 2 kids, and then girlfriend B was like, I think I'm a woman. And so I think she'd been on hormones for about 3 years when we first met. And yeah, it was, and then finally we figured out, after about 6 months, we figured out a way for me to visit. I would get on the Greyhound bus, ride for like 4 hours to Buffalo, New York, and then girlfriend A would drive across the border, pick me up. You know, I had to get a passport and stuff first, obviously, which was a hassle. That's one of the reasons it took so long for us to meet each other, is because I had to get a fucking passport. Girlfriend A actually did visit me before then, for like a week in the States, which was nice. But when I went there, I still miss their little house, or apartment, or not apartment, but it was like I forget what they're called, but it was like a house connected to other houses. I can't remember what that's called. And like the months I spent there, because so the thing is I'm on SSI, which meant, good, I don't have a job. That means I can't visit. Bad news is we had to do a lot of research that apparently if I was to stay in Canada for like longer than a month at a time, I could lose my SSI. And there were kind of ways where I could probably get around it, like, i.e. just not say I'm coming back, but then you run the risk of bad things. And also you have to like tell them. The funny thing is, when you go across the border, you have to be like, okay, why are you here? And I, would always just say, visiting family. And then they'd be like, how long are you here? And it's like, a month. And then they'd always be like, because most people don't do that. Like, most people have like a job to get back to, or they have like a reason that they're there for that long, like a work visa or something. And I'm just, the border. I was always so scared of crossing the border. I don't know why. Like, what to be scared of, but it was always so scary. Like, I would freak out for like a month before visiting every time, because I'm just like, what if I miss the bus? What if? And those those buses were expensive. I was just like, what if I miss the bus? What if we get to the border and they don't let me in? What do we do? What if I go there and then you get stuck and you can't come get me? What happens? And I'm just always like terrified. of getting stuck or not being able to see them. And it was always fine. I never missed the bus once. I never, like, there was never a problem at the border ever. Like, it was fine. I was just, I have issues with anxiety. um, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I miss them a lot. Um, so I would go there for about a month at a time, go there for a month, come back to America, um, and just basically wait to go visit again. And the months that I got to spend there were amazing. Their house was so peaceful, and peace is something I don't get a lot of, unfortunately. And I loved the kids. I loved the kids. They, it was a 5-year relationship, and the kids became like my own kids. So calling them first daughter and second daughter to spare the names of the innocent. Um, um, it was very interesting how differently the two of them reacted. Like, kids are so different from each other. There's no two kids that are alike, which is why parenting is so hard. Parenting is hard because, um, you know, your child will always be their own unique person. And there are things you can do. There are, like, there's advice you can take, but at the end of the day, you have an individual human child who, there's a bug, an individual human child who has, their own wants, their own needs, their own autonomy, their own beliefs, their own, unique way of looking at the world. And even within a family, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same between two kids. Those two kids were so different from each other. Like, so my partners did not want to tell the kids that we were dating and they didn't want to tell their family members that we were dating because their family members were already having a hard time with girlfriend B's transition, and treating her like a woman and calling her by her name and using the correct pronouns. That was a struggle for the rest of the family, unfortunately. But so they didn't really want to introduce polyamory to that entire mess. It didn't really want to, choose your battles carefully. And but yeah, so the kids never knew we were dating, but the kids did come to eventually see me as a third parent. And again, I didn't realize I was trans until 2022, right before the breakup. And that did not cause the breakup. They were very enthusiastic about my realization and my transition. They were very supportive. It was other matters that caused the end. But it was so funny the first time I visited, because again, they're like 3-ish and then like 6-ish. I actually can't remember. The youngest might have been just turned 4 when I visited. I can't remember. But the youngest was definition of the word rascal. Like, she was she was all limbs and energy and a chatterbox. She could talk. She never got tired of talking. She would talk your ear off the whole day if you let her. And about very vaguely connected stories, very vaguely connected things. But she could talk, and she was just a little like ball of energy. When I got there, she immediately like hopped in my lap and just started telling me about everything, just telling me about her like daycare that she was going to, and telling me about like everything about their cats. Just immediately in my lap, immediately wanting to play, immediately wanting to be my friend. And the oldest was very different. The oldest was She did not trust my presence at first. She started having anxiety issues. She was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder at age 4, very young. Um, she was such an anxious little thing. And I think the first day I came, she was kind of like, oh, okay, there's a person here, one of, Mummy and Mother's friends. Cool, fine. And then I didn't go away, like, because I had to stay at their house because I can't just go back to the States. Um, and like a few days went by and she's just like, why are you still here? Like, just did not trust my presence. I don't think it's that she didn't like me at first. I think she just did not understand, and she just didn't get why I was there, and didn't. I think it's fair to say she didn't trust me at first, which is fair. Kids, kids have different. It takes some time to build that trust, especially if they're anxious. It takes, whenever there's like a step parent coming into a family, and it wasn't quite that situation, obviously, because my girlfriends were together, but it was kind of a step parent situation where suddenly there's just another adult who's a part of our family, and I don't know why. I'm 6. I don't understand. So it took her a long time to warm up to me. And it's like the difference between the two. Like the youngest was very touchy-feely. The youngest always wanted to be, hanging off your arm, always like wrestling, always wanting to play. And the oldest, I remember, it was like I didn't try this like the first day, but like I'd been there maybe a couple weeks, and I was sitting with them while they were eating lunch or something, and the oldest was telling a story about something that made her sad, and so I like reached out to like pat her on the back, and I just felt her just go rigid, and I was like, okay, no touching for now. Like, she's not comfortable yet. She does not want to be touched. I will leave her alone. Meanwhile, the youngest is like pulling on my hair practically. Um, um, I love the challenge of trying to figure out what kids need, because so often they're just too young to understand what they need. I don't like the way I'm phrasing this, because kids often know what they need. If you listen to kids, if you listen to what they say, if you listen to their worries and stuff, they will tell you what they need. But there are times when they are not able to explain what they need because they can't understand. It takes a lot of time and a lot of maturity and a lot of growth and a lot of years to understand your own brain, understand your own needs, understand your own desires, understand why you react to certain things in maybe a non-ideal way. And kids don't have those tools yet. They're learning those tools. They are discovering those tools, and your job is to help them discover those tools. And I just love the unique challenge of working with the kids and trying to figure out, like, what do they need right now? What's going on? What are they scared about? What are they worried about? How can I help? And both of them they were great kids. Great kids. Love them so much. Some of the best kids I've ever met. But they both had a lot of struggles with emotions, so we're pretty sure the youngest is autistic. My sister, who you've seen on a couple shorts, my sister was diagnosed with autism and ADHD as a young kid, and I remember kind of some of the stuff she did. I remember a lot of that time period, and I was noticing some of those patterns in the youngest. I did totally walk in on her in her room one day where she had like a what's it called? Like a dish towel, and it had like checks on it, not checks, but like Why are my words failing me? There were lines that go this way and then lines that go this way, and it made little boxes. You know what I'm talking about. So I caught her with one of those one day, and she was just putting all of her tiniest toys just in each little box and just lining them up. And I'm like, have we considered we considered getting her checked out. There was other things too, but she suffered from a lot of, as time went on and we came to realize she suffered from a lot of sensory overload and overstimulation. Because we gave her these like earplugs and then headphones to test that, because she would come home every day just crying, sobbing, and she would, not tantrums. I don't like the word tantrum. There are very few kids who will actually throw a tantrum. Most of the time it is an emotional need that is not being met. Most of the time it's because they can't explain their need or they can't get their need met, and they're just as frustrated as we are, and they're crying because that's the only thing they know how to do. And especially if they struggle with communicating certain things or struggle with understanding certain things about themselves, because especially with her, it was likely autism, and that makes it another level of difficulty to know your own body, know your own brain a little bit, and also being fucking 3. But she would have a lot of meltdowns, and it was taking us a long time to figure out why, because they seemingly came out of nowhere. They would last a really long time. They were like every day for a few years, and we started to figure out that she had some overstimulation issues. We gave her these like foam little earplugs, and I swear she was at the window, like looking out the window, and I wanted to test something, so I like went out of the room, like she's over here. I went out of the room across all the way, and then she wasn't looking at me, and I whispered her name with those foam earplugs in. I whispered her name, and she turned and looked at me, and I'm like, your ears are so strong. No wonder you're freaking out all the time, because you're going to school and everybody is so fucking loud. Like, no wonder you're overstimulated and overstressed and crying, because, dear God, your poor ears. But and the oldest, again, so much anxiety. I think the last update I got was she was diagnosed with OCD, actually. So she would have not as many as the younger one, but she would have moments of you know, emotional overload from all of her anxiety. She had difficulty sleeping at night, which was really, really difficult, just because I can't sleep. But man, I loved those kids so much. The oldest was always so quietly inquisitive about everything. She was curious about everything. She just wanted to know how the world worked. She wanted to know. When she started reading, she really picked up reading. She loved reading. She would go through books as fast as I did when I was little. She just, book after book after book. And then she'd read them over again. And it's like, it's been 2 days. How did you read that book twice? Both of them were always asking questions. That is the thing I loved is, in my home, my parents tried their best. They really did. I was not an easy child to have as your first. Had some behavioral issues and had some of my own emotional issues, and the first kid is always kind of a trial. Like you can't be prepared for parenthood. You cannot know what's coming. You cannot know how to handle it, what you're gonna do. You just can't. And you have to have the child, and then you have to just watch them and observe them and kind of intuitively figure out what they need, intuitively figure out what to do. And that's a learning curve. It's not easy. I think it is very important for people to decide and want to have kids, as opposed to being forced into a situation where They have no choice because it's a commitment. If you want to raise a child right, if you want to do well, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of learning yourself. You have to learn the child. You have to learn the child so that you can learn how to help them, how to best guide them, because they need different things. The oldest and the youngest needed such different things from each other. The oldest, you could pretty much just like say one or two things and she would get it. She would know what to do, and she would be able to internalize that information and move on. She rarely needed. Hate to use the word correction, but you know, she rarely needed anything like that. The youngest was the youngest had a lot of, I think it's fair to say she had a rebellious streak, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's makes her a bad kid. I think it means she was very frustrated with the world around her. I think it means that she was constantly overstimulated, constantly overstressed in a world that couldn't meet her needs. We met her needs to the best of our abilities, but like the greater world that she had to exist in couldn't meet a lot of her needs. And man, I'd be frustrated too. Like I'd fight back with my parents a little too, you know? And again, neither of them were bad kids. They were great kids, but every kid is gonna have moments where they don't wanna listen. Every kid is gonna have moments where they don't agree with the parental decision. One of our rules was, like the biggest rule in the house was, it is your body, your rules, unless it's a matter of health and safety. Meaning, the kids could make any choices they wanted regarding their own body, unless it was something like, you do have to brush your teeth. That's not gonna be a discussion. You do have to brush your teeth every day. We're not really willing to bend on that because you will lose your teeth. That is a matter of health and safety. Or like in the winter time, if like they didn't want to wear their coat, but it was definitely too cold for them to healthily be running around without it, it's like, you do have to put your coat on. I'm sorry. It is your body, your rules, but you do have to wear a coat. So, but I really liked that was, my partners had excellent parenting style. They worked so hard for their kids and worked so hard to raise them gently and kindly. And you could see it in the kids. You could see their hard work in those kids. Because it's not easy. Parenting is not easy. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, man. I just miss those kids. The oldest was so tall. She was a string bean. She grew so fast, and she was like, so I'm just shy of 5'9". The last time I saw her when she was like, I think the last time I saw her in person, she was 10 or 11. I don't know. I'm so bad with it. But she was like basically up to my shoulder. Like, she was so tall. Yeah. There are other stories about them. Oh, also, like, my partners, just going there and visiting was always some of the best best times. I don't know why I can't talk today. Spoilers, I can't ever talk. That's the actual answer. I can't ever talk. Yeah, my girlfriends taught me so much. One of them introduced me to the Mountain Goats, the band that, one of two bands that I listen to and love. Girlfriend A taught me a lot. She taught me how to cook. She's a great cook. One of my favorite memories was I was over, because my issue with cooking is I'm very bad at seeing the steps in a recipe as guidelines, which a good cook can kind of be like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to do that, but also like, I can do this, and that's fine. Um, I like to follow rules. I like to do things the right way. I like to do what I'm told. And so one of my favorite memories was we were making. She was showing me how to make. I think it was chili. Like her version of it, and my favorite part was she got out all the spices that she would put in it. She laid them on the counter and she said, "All right, I'm taking the recipe away. Put some in, see what works." Like she's like, she's like, "I want you to figure out how much goes in." And I'm like, "But I don't know. I don't know how to make this. I don't know what I'm doing." And she's like, "Just try, just see what happens. You know, worst comes to worst, and you know we can't. It tastes terrible. We'll order pizza." You know, like, and so I I did it so slowly. I did it by like quarter teaspoon at a time or something, where I'm just like, "Is this enough?" And then I'd taste it, and she's like, "I don't know. Is it enough?" I'm like, "I don't know. Just tell me." But eventually I came up with the amount that I thought was right. And she was impressed, actually. She was like, "This is really good." She's like, "I think this is better than the time I made it." One of the best compliments she gave me was she said I have really good instincts with cooking, even if I don't have like the experience that she has, because she could make anything. She knew like all of the science of cooking, uh, like how much what's the words? Like, not acid. Is it acid? I have good instincts, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. She knew about like all of the chemical side of it. So she was really smart. She was working on her PhD. Very, very smart. But I loved cooking with her. I loved what she could teach me. And then girlfriend B, I had crocheted before, but she loved fiber crafts of any kind. She liked crocheting, she liked knitting, she was always working on a project, always had something she was making. She made me a couple pairs of gloves. I don't know where they are. That's unfortunate. But she, yeah, always had a fiber craft she was working on. Always listening to music. She loved music. She could not exist without music. And yeah, they both taught me so much about the world because they met me when I was 21 or 22. I don't know. Sometimes my timelines are not accurate, but you know, they met me when I was early 20s, knew very little about anything, and they were 10 and 12 years older than me, which the age gap never felt like a problem. Like I always felt like they're equal, and I think relationships are. It's not so much about the number, but you do have to be careful when you're getting into a relationship that things feel equal. Like you feel like you're on the same level. It is not so much about the number. Obviously, once everyone's above 18, I feel like that doesn't need to be stated. You know, it's not so much about the number. It's about maturity level, how you address each other, how you can interact with each other, how much you respect each other. And so the age gap never felt like a problem because I really got along well with them. We got along so fast, like so fast we could just talk about anything. And like they knew everything about me. They knew all of my fears, all of my desires, all of the things I thought about the world. They knew me better than I think almost anyone else. I think better than anyone else has ever known me. I you know, my first experience with intimacy was with them. Um, and that's the thing that made the relationship the hardest was my primary love language is physical touch. I'm a very, very touch-based person. And having a relationship be half long distance, because I could only visit, you know, for a month, and then couldn't visit for a while, and then for another month. Trying to have that relationship without access to touch was difficult. It was difficult. I also, unfortunately, had a higher libido than both of them. They were both on the ACE spectrum, so there was a bit of a discordance in our need for sex. But I think that's the thing that made the relationship the hardest was just the distance and not having access to the touch I needed in a relationship like that. Made it very hard. You know, I didn't struggle with jealousy because they were together and that never, you know, we were polytriad. We were closed polytriad, so it was like I never struggled with, oh, they've been together longer, because they were together for like 9 years when we'd met. Like, they'd been together a long time. And was it 9 years? I mean, maybe it was 9 years later. I don't know. I don't know math. I can't remember. But they'd been together a very long time. Excuse me. By the time they got together, or we got together. I don't remember where I was going with that. I can't remember what I was saying. Oops. Fucking clock. Yeah. Trying to. Oh, yeah, I remember what I was saying. I didn't struggle with jealousy, but I did struggle with not being able to be touched and have that kind of interaction for most of the relationship. And then the worst part was when COVID hit, because COVID hit in 2020. I likely got COVID because I was visiting them, I believe in February of 2020, which was right before everything got shut down. Really good I wasn't over there when that got shut down. Or part of me was like, man, I wish I had been shut over there, because it's like, oh well, I can't go back home. Oops, I'm stuck. What am I gonna do? But I was visiting in like February of 2020, and we all got sick. We you know, a sickness went through the house, and I remember that the kids got it. They both got it. I got it. The kids were burning up. It was like 40-degree temperature, like Celsius, and that's really high. It was probably COVID, because I got it the worst, because I have a terrible immune system. I get sick very easily, and I get sick for a long time, and it takes a while for me to get better. And the sickness settled in my lungs, and you know, it was like crackling, and it was like, because we got sick like really early on, after I visited, and then like a week later we all came down with it. And we went to the doctor there, and I remember he's like, yeah, there's something going around. I don't think you have pneumonia. I'm gonna give you an inhaler, because your lungs are full of gunk. And yeah, but I don't think it's you know, anything weird. And then it's like, and then, you know, in March of 2020 everything gets shut down. It's like, I think that was COVID. I do believe I got COVID, and can't prove it. Can't prove it. But oh well. And the only reason I care about proving it is because I do wonder if I have some leftover symptoms from that sickness. There's been a few times I've gotten sick, really, really sick, and I've feel like it permanently impacted my body. I actually got mono. I got mono soon after dating them because I think one of them had it and it can be dormant and never goes away, I guess. So, and it was mono, but it was the worst sick I've ever been. I came back home and I was so sick. My throat and tongue were white and swollen with infection. I remember I went to the hospital a few times because we were so scared. My heart rate was so high. I can't remember what it was, but it was excessively high for a really long time. It would not go down. And actually, after I stopped being sick, it never went down again. It stayed at like 130. It's actually gone down recently. Like recently, I've actually started having a normal heart rate, but like in the 90s. But it was like hovering in like the 130s for like years after getting sick, and it had never been that high before. When I went to the hospital, they said there was something wrong with my liver. Like they did some medical tests, and there was something wrong with my liver, and I think there was another organ that was affected, and I can't remember what it was. It might have been my kidneys, but I remember the numbers for my liver were terrible, and they were really concerned. The one doctor thought I had like fatty liver disease, and then they checked it after I finished being sick, and my liver was fine again. So he's like, "Oh, I guess not. Never mind." So sick. I dropped 20 pounds in 2 weeks. 20 entire pounds in 2 weeks. Because I was so sick. It was really scary because I remember I was, I would be laying in bed and I couldn't talk and I could just breathe because it was so hard to breathe. My breath was always coming in so fast and shallow. And I would, for days, I was just laying in bed on the phone with my girlfriends, listening to them, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't respond. All I could do was just try to breathe, and I genuinely thought I was going to die. I was so sick, I genuinely thought I was going to die. It was so scary. And it was apparently just mono. Apparently? I don't know. I was so sick. Like, there was one point where I went downstairs to get something to drink, and I passed out, fully passed out. Called the ER. They came, and they were like, "You're fine." I'm like, "Okay." Like, was so sick. And I have no idea why. Apparently it was just mono. Yeah, that's a little off topic. I always got sick when I went there, and I don't know why. Like, another time I went there, had to go to the hospital because I got extremely sick. Not sure why I always got sick when I went. But it was nice though, because they would actually take care of me when I got sick. When I got sick with mono here, the scariest part was my family thought I was exaggerating, I think. I don't think they realized how sick I was. I don't think they realized how bad it was. And, you know, they wouldn't let me keep Gatorade in my room, even though I was having trouble walking and having trouble getting food. And again, I dropped 20 pounds in 2 weeks. They were, you know, they were trying to encourage me to be an independent adult. And, you know, they were like, you need to do this stuff yourself. You need to do your chores. You need to take care of yourself. You need to keep drinks and food downstairs. And I was like, there were times when I was scared that I just wouldn't be able to drink enough to survive. And whenever I got sick, with my girlfriends, they would always, they'd let me stay in bed. They'd let me rest. Like, they knew I suffered from chronic illness, so they were the first ones to kind of validate that. And I could lay in bed and if I needed to. Like, the first week I went there, I was always so exhausted from the stress of just being in my house, that the first week I would just sleep. The first week I was there, I would barely get out of bed. And then I'd finally be able to get up and hang out for the rest of the month. They really took care of me a lot, in a lot of ways, and not just when I was physically there, but when I was here. There was it was very limited what they could do because it was a long distance, and they felt really helpless a lot to help me. We tried to get me over there. We wanted me to live with them, but there was just no option. There was, like, moving to another country, you either have to have a lot of money or have to be able to get a job there, work visa. Since we were polyamorous, I couldn't, they were married to each other, and polygamy is not legal. I would have been married to them after a year or two if that could be the case. We considered having me, like, legally adopt one of the kids to see if we tried everything. We were trying so hard to get me over there, because they knew how much I was struggling here. And they knew that there weren't a lot of supports for me here. But there was very little they could do. We couldn't, there just wasn't a way to get me across the border permanently. And then COVID hit, and that was hard because, February of 2020 was the last time I saw them in person. And then we tried to carry on the relationship. We tried to carry it on. We didn't know how long COVID was going to last. We thought maybe it would just be a year and the border would be open again. And that wasn't how it worked. The border stayed closed. I couldn't visit. They couldn't visit me. And from 2020 until May of 2022, we tried to make it work. We really tried. But there are just some things that are impossible. I really was suffering from lack of touch, lack of being able to see them, being able to hold them, being able to hold the kids. I was really, really struggling with that. And something happened. I've always struggled with mental health. I've always struggled with depression. I had this diagnosis changed, but I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder at the time, and now that diagnosis has been taken away for some reason. And I had a very bad meltdown, where they were concerned for my safety. They were concerned for their own safety. And I went to the psych ward and called them while I was there, and they wanted to break up while I was in a safe space, because they knew without them I had nothing. They knew that when I lost them, I would lose my only support. And they wanted me to be safe. So when I was in the hospital, I called them, and they broke up with me. And I haven't talked to them since, like on the phone or anything. Never got to say goodbye to the kids. We had limited text conversations after I came home from the hospital, but not many. I did get a picture and an update from them semi-recently this year. They're doing great. The kids look great. They were on vacation somewhere, the picture. It's a nice picture of them. Miss them a lot. I miss the kids so much. And that's the thing is like, I loved being their partner. But I think more than anything, I loved being a father to the kids. And again, I didn't realize my trans identity until later, so I was a mother to them for a long time. Although, one of those, like, telling trans things, so girlfriend B, I mentioned she was trans, and one of the things is that was kind of a discussion in the house was, you know, now to the kids, like, you have two mothers now. You have mommy and mother, and you no longer have a dad, which the kids were fine with. Like, kids, that's the thing. Kids are so okay with queer stuff. Like, the kids changed pronouns and names and stuff so fast without issue. And people worry, like, you know, what, you gotta protect the kids. And it's like, no, you don't. Kids are fine. It's not scary. It's not complicated. Like, kids are just like, okay. Like, you think the same little people that, like, run around pretending to be, like, knights and dragons and princesses, and you think that those kids have a little issue with hey, I'm a girl now, hey, I'm a boy now? They don't. They don't. Like, kids are only as afraid of queer stuff as you are. That's the truth. They're only as intimidated by queer relationships and queer identities as you are. So reflect on that. Think about that a little bit. Next time you're afraid to tell your kid what gay means, or why those two boys are kissing in public, or why that girl has some facial hair. Like, kids, they can grasp it. It's not that complicated. So get over yourself a little bit. Yeah, those kids were great. But it was funny because, like, before I realized I was trans, I was like, because, like, Father's Day would come and go and the kids didn't really have anyone to send a Father's Day thing to. And I was like, I'll take one for the team. They can write me a Father's Day card. I don't mind. I will suffer this burden. I will suffer the burden of fatherhood. Later it's like, because yeah, I realized my identity, like, only a few months before we ended up breaking up, and they were so supportive of that. They were, I love the time I got to enjoy my gender with them before things ended, because I could talk to them about anything. I could tell them anything. I could tell them, you know, and I remember this one conversation where I was talking about, like, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go on testosterone. And I think girlfriend A said something about, like, you know, well, how, like, I don't remember how the conversation went, but it was something like, you know, what do you think about your voice cracking? And I was like, and she's like, that's not a cis reaction. That is not a cis woman reaction. to be excited about your voice cracking. So I'm glad that they were there for that, because I probably would never have transitioned if I hadn't been in a relationship where I felt like it was safe. Like, if I had been single, I don't think I would have ever felt comfortable enough to try different pronouns. And it was the trying pronouns that made it, because I again, it had been a thing my whole life where I'd thought about it. I'd always been like, I wish I was a guy, but I'm not. I'm a woman, so I have to be a woman, because this is my duty to be a girl. And then part of the reason I started trying other pronouns is I'm like, what better time? I'm in a relationship where they will love me and accept me no matter my gender. Let's try. And they were very supportive, very encouraging. They bought me some boxers. and sent them to me, which was really nice. I love my boxers. Yeah. I still have the first Christmas present that they gave me. Girlfriend A made me a quilt. I still have it. I still use it. Still sleep with it every night. Girlfriend A actually also gave me this. This was hers, and she gave it to me because she knew I loved Full Metal Alchemist. And that was one of the nicest things we could do is it's really hard to carry on a relationship that's long distance like that, but one of the ways that we really connected was we like watched my hair's, I don't know, I can't see it, but I can tell it's being a problem. We would watch shows together all the time. Like that was, you guys remember Rabbit, the streaming, the little streaming thing where you could watch a show with someone else? I wish we had that back. When that went down, I was so sad because then we had to like sync it up the old-fashioned way where you count down, you measure the delay in the Discord call and then count down and then start it and hope it's close enough to being synced. The old-fashioned way. We would watch so much together, and I that's one of my biggest love languages is showing people the media I love. And sometimes I can get a little selfish with it. Sometimes one of the fights that would constantly happen was, not fights, fight is a really strong word for it, but I would kind of be a little overbearing with what I wanted to watch and not let other people like let them pick as many times. And sometimes I just have a really hard time getting into media that other people are into, even though they had good taste. I'm really selective about the media I watch. Which is one of my flaws. I do have to get better about being a little more adventurous, I guess. But them being willing to watch my favorite shows with me meant so much. Like, we watched both Full Metal Alchemist, because one of my requirements in any romantic relationship I get into, you have to watch both Full Metal Alchemists with me. You have to. The original and Brotherhood is a requirement. If we are dating, we will watch Full Metal Alchemist together. That show is so important to me on so many levels. It's my favorite anime. Both of them. Someday I'll make a video on why both of them are good equally, and that they're very different, but they are both very good, and we do not need to have these arguments about Brotherhood being superior. Okay, I'm good. That's not what this video is about. But we watched Full Metal Alchemist, we watched Wolf's Rain, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Fruits Basket, we watched so much together. We watched all my favorite stuff. I even showed them my favorite YouTubers' videos. And yeah, that's also one of my favorite memories is when the oldest got old enough, because another difficult thing about the long distance is making sure I had enough time with the kids, because I would basically be on the phone 24/7 with I'd basically be on the phone 24/7 with my partners. We would just always have a call going and kind of be doing our own things, kind of be talking, and making sure I had time spent with the kids, because they couldn't really use the phone because they're, kids. But the kids would like come in and talk to me, and I kind of lived as a phone for a while, for 5 years. And when the oldest got old enough, and she had her own laptop, well, the kids shared a laptop, but I started being able to watch stuff with her too, just like me and her watching stuff when she got old enough, and that was some of the best times. I also showed her my favorite YouTuber, and she loved him. Thought he was very funny. Also thought he was kind of an idiot, which, yeah. She had such a great sense of humor. One of my favorite things she did, where if she didn't understand something, like if somebody said something that she just didn't get, she would just be like, "Oh, weird." just in that tone, like, weird. Like I would just be talking to her about something, and she'd be like, "What, what's happening?" And I'm just like, "Well, uh, this is how this works, and this is how this works, and this is what I think about this," and just weird. uh, I also I introduced the kids to Minecraft and to Undertale. Man, they really took off with Minecraft. They love Minecraft. That became the only thing they talked about. They would just go in and start talking about Minecraft, and they they were also so good at Minecraft, both of them. Like, they're like kids, and they were doing like redstone shit like on their own, building these contraptions. And I'm like, I gotta be honest, I've been playing the game since like 2013, 2014, and I can't I can't do anything with redstone. I'm not smart. I do not understand how that works. I can barely make a railroad track. That's the limit of what I can do. And they were building these contraptions, and I'm just like, you guys are so smart. And they loved showing me what they could make. I they also thought it was really funny because I have this moral problem where it shouldn't be an issue, but like I kind of have over empathy issues, and the kids really hated the like villagers and the like merchants. And so every time there would be a merchant or whatever, they would just kill them. And I was like, you can't kill them. They're a person. And they're like, it's a video game. And I'm like, it's not. You can't kill them. And so they started doing it on purpose just to just to make me sad. And just like, I'd be talking with a girlfriend A or girlfriend B, and one of the kids would just run in the room and just be like, I killed another merchant. Just like, no, how could you? Why? Why would you do this? This video is so long and I don't care. Yeah. Such good kids. I love when kids get hyper too. Like, you know when kids just like, they hit that like right before bedtime slap happy, and they just are like screeching and jumping up and down and running in circles, and you just do not know what to do with them. I miss that. I miss being around for that. I miss playing with them. I played soccer with the oldest a little bit. She always liked that. I think I bought her a soccer ball. Yeah, man. I miss them so much. They're such good kids. Such good kids. And the eldest, the thing is that in the beginning, you know, they both had some issues with me. Like, even the youngest like really attached to me really quick, but there was a period of time where the youngest realized I wasn't going away either. And I remember this because it is a very normal part of child's growth and development to have kind of a phase where they're basically testing how safe you are. They are testing, and they don't realize they're doing this. This is not something they're doing consciously, but they start to test, like, are you a safe person for me to be around? Are you safe for me to be like disobedient around? Are you safe for me to be rebellious around? That is a very normal part of childhood development, and a very healthy part, because it's helping them kind of learn their independence, learn how to say no, learn how to draw their own boundaries. And I remember it was probably like the first month I visited, towards the end of it or something, and I was watching the kids while their parents were out doing groceries or something, and the youngest always had a hard time at like meal times because she wanted to run around and play. She didn't want to sit down and eat her food. She sometimes getting her to eat was a little bit of a struggle. And I remember I was, trying to make sure she ate her breakfast, and I think she threw a toy because she was frustrated with me for not letting her play. And I was like, can't do that. Let's not throw things, or whatever. I don't remember what I said. I remember she looked at me and she was so upset. She looked at me. She's like, "You're not in our family." It's like, He's like, okay, honey. Like, um, I am, but we're not going to have this discussion now because you need to have these feelings and you need to feel like you have a little bit of a say in this because you don't really have a say in me dating your parents, unfortunately. But I mean, she was fine later. It was just a moment of, this is weird. You're sticking around. You're becoming a permanent fixture, and I need to test how safe you are. I loved that the kids felt comfortable saying no to me. I loved that they felt comfortable, like even when they were doing something like rolling their eyes or like stomping their foot or something, or upset at me because of a decision I made. It made me so happy to know that they felt comfortable enough to do that. Like, they felt safe enough, because it is, as a parent, it can, obviously, I'm not saying I never got frustrated with them. I'm not saying, I'm no saint. When kids wanna push your buttons, they can do it. They're quite capable. So, I'm not saying I never got frustrated with them, or that there wasn't ever moments of being frustrated. I never raised my voice at them, obviously, but I'm not saying I never got frustrated or upset with them, but deep down and like in retrospect, I was always so happy because, I did not feel that safety growing up of being able to tell my parents no, being able to have my own autonomy over my body and my opinions, my personality, and knowing that they felt comfortable enough to be like, I didn't like that thing you did. And it is so important as a parent to be able to apologize too. That is the most important thing you can do as a parent, is apologize to your kid, because you will make mistakes. This is the thing. You will make mistakes. You will lose your temper. You will get frustrated. You will make the wrong call. You will really think about a decision, make that decision, and then later realize it was the wrong decision for your child. Like, that is all very normal parts of parenting. And what makes the difference is you will not believe how much your kids will respect you if you can say, I'm sorry. If you can go to your kid and say, hey, I don't like that call I just made. I don't like the way I just talked to you. I don't like the way I just treated you. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to treat you like that. I don't think it's appropriate that I did that, and I don't think it's okay that I did that. I'm sorry. Kids will respect you so much if you can apologize to them and admit when you made a parenting mistake. Parents think that they have to keep up this facade of like, I know what I'm doing. I'm always in control. I know everything. I don't want the kid to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. That's not how they internalize it. That's really not. When they hear you say, I'm sorry, and when they hear you say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing either, man. Like, kids respect the hell out of that. They really do. And it builds that trust between you and them. Like, it teaches them that they can apologize too. It teaches them that making a mistake is not the end of the world. It teaches them that adults can make mistakes too, which is very important for a kid to understand. It is important for a kid to understand that you do need them to listen to certain things. Like, I need you to know that if I tell you not to run into the road, you don't run into the road. Obviously, they need to respect that, but also kind of letting them in on the secret of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing either. This is weird. I'm a parent. You're a child. We have to help each other grow. I don't know what I'm doing. Kids respect the hell out of that, and they're willing to work with you too. Like, if you go to them and say, hey, I don't like that parenting decision I made. What do you think I should have done? Like, and sometimes, like, you can't always, depending on the situation, sometimes maybe their suggestion might not work, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it's like, let's work out what we can do different next time. Like, you and me, we're going to problem solve this because I made a bad call. Kids just respect the hell out of that. And they're so willing to forgive. They're so willing to forgive. Kids are so patient. Kids are not patient, but they are patient in the right ways. Especially if you can admit when you were wrong. That really builds trust with them. The oldest took the longest to get used to me because of her anxiety. They had a very specific bedtime routine, both of them, just because of how they were brought up. And one of the things that their parents would do would be sing to them at night before they went to bed. And I started to take over the bedtime routine when I could. But for a long time, the oldest did not want me to sing. She's like, I want mommy or mother to do it. I don't want you to do it. And that was fine. I respected that. Because even though I loved her very dearly, and even that was the thing that broke my heart, because she even didn't understand why it took her so long to trust me. Like, she was like, I like you, but I'm scared, and I don't want you to. I think it was more of an issue of, if I started singing their bedtime, for her, it kind of felt like what if mommy and mother don't want to do it anymore or something. I think that might have been the underlying fear. But eventually, towards the end of, the time I got to be with them, they did finally let me sing for them at night, which was really nice. I love singing, and singing them to bed was always a nice thing. This video is so long, and I do not care. I don't get to talk about them enough. Christmas was always fun. We would always make so many things. We would make mince pies, which I kind of want to make this year. I miss making those. Loved baking and cooking with the kids and my girlfriends. It was always really nice to have my birthday and Christmas there instead of here. Didn't always get to happen every year, and then obviously when COVID hit, couldn't do that. I went camping with them, which was fun. First time camping. Except at because I went to youth camp growing up. It wasn't really a camp. It was cabins and activities and stuff. But I went camping with them. It was still in a cabin, so it's still not tent camping, but it was actually camping. It was we had to bring all our own shit and all that stuff. Camping was fun. Yeah. I miss those kids. It always shocked me how small they were. I mean, the oldest was really tall, but just kids are so fragile. And they're not fragile. That's the thing. Kids are they seem so fragile to us. When we see them, when we're holding them, they feel so breakable. They feel if I cannot bear the thought of hurting this person, or this person getting hurt because I couldn't be there. And they feel so fragile, but they're so fucking tough. Kids are so fucking tough. They're so resilient. They can learn anything. They can get through anything. They're always adapting, always growing, resilient, The eldest dealt with a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. She was very strong despite all of that. And the youngest, no matter how upset she got or how big the meltdown was, she's always, the next day, always rambunctious again. I got really good also at being able to tell when the kids were sick, even from a country away. There were so many times when they'd come home from school, and I could just tell by the sound of their voice over the phone and the spans of silence in between, and I'd be like, could you guys check their temperature? Could you get the thermometer? Could you check their temperature? And almost always it was yeah, they're sick. Just I could tell immediately from so far away. When kids get sick, it is so funny because there's a part of you that's oh God, my kid is sick. I need, I want to help them. I don't want them to feel sick. But there's also a part of you that's oh, parenting duties today are just sitting and watching TV with my child and holding them while they barf. That's all I have to do today. We don't have to have an argument about we don't have to have an argument about screen time or a chore or who actually was playing with the toy first before the other one took it. And we don't have to. You're just gonna lay here and and just cuddle, and that's it. That's our job today. And then you give them Tylenol, and then they're like, wow, I'm all better. It's like, no, your fever's just down. You stay, keep sitting, keep resting. Here's your bowl. um, yeah, I loved them. I loved them so much. They were my family. They were my family for 5 years. They were the best family I'd ever had. And I miss them dearly, and I don't know. The difficult part is I miss the kids very much. I miss their parents very much, but I miss the kids, I think, even more than I miss their parents. And I don't quite know the protocol. um, I want to write the kids letters, but I also, things ended kind of tenuously. I don't think they hold anger towards me, but I don't want to create some kind of internal problem by wanting to stay in contact with the kids if the parents don't want it. First and foremost, they're their kids. First and foremost, they're not mine. And as desperately as I want to see them and as desperately as I want to talk to them, I do want to respect the boundaries that are drawn. I do want to respect the parents' choice in it. And I don't want to make the kids feel like they have to choose, And it's not that it would even be that. I'm also, part of this is I'm worried about something that hasn't even occurred yet. I have not tried writing a letter. I have not received feedback that I shouldn't. I've not been told really anything. It's been kind of silence for a while. They've very much moved on. I'm probably going to risk writing letters because at worst they'll just throw it away. So I think, excuse me. I don't know why I'm so burpy today. Yeah, I miss them. I hope, and that's the hardest thing is I can't watch the kids grow anymore. It was such a privilege to be around for them growing and changing, and every year they got smarter, got older, got learned new things about themselves, about the world. Had new things they liked, had new things they wanted to share. I've missed a few birthday parties now. I've missed Christmases. Miss them a lot. It really hurts not being able to be a part of their it hurts not being a part of their growth anymore. I loved God, stop crying. I loved the challenge of trying to figure out how to make their lives better, how to give them everything they wanted, figuring out how to help when they were scared or upset or sad, try to figure out, when they were angry about something and having an emotional moment, trying to help problem solve, like how to make it easier for them. I remember one of the first times the eldest started to trust me was I was visiting, and she had a loose tooth, and she, the oldest, I think it was mostly her anxiety, but she was very sensitive to pain. She, pain scared her a lot, and I think the fear always made it hurt worse. And it's possible just that her pain tolerance is just uniquely low, which nothing wrong with that. But she had a loose tooth, and she was really having trouble eating anything because you know, it was uncomfortable. And I think having a loose tooth kind of scared her. Again, really bad anxiety. So I was around for her first loose tooth, and she was not eating. And I remember that it was a kind of a, it's like, honey, you have to eat. You have to eat something. You can't, can you chew on the other side of your mouth? And I think what she was trying to eat was Nutella toast, unfortunately, and that's kind of hard to kind of like, and I remember I was there, and I didn't say this directly to her because she was still in a kind of a phase where she was very guarded against me. She didn't like taking my suggestions. She didn't like me having any authority or control over anything. She was very like, no, mommy and mother are my parents. You are a stranger. You don't belong here yet. I don't trust you. So I pulled one of my girlfriends aside, and I was like, can you cut it like in like long strips so she can kind of like stick it in the side, because it was like her loose tooth was like this one or something, like one of the front ones. And they tried that. They didn't tell her it was my idea. They cut it into pieces, and I remember her, like, she had been crying because she was like really not into eating, because it was hurting. And I remember like she stopped crying, like tentatively, like took one piece, started chewing it, realized it didn't hurt, very wary about this solution. And then they were like, that was his idea. And I just remember she looked at me and she's just like, like she just did not. She was like, okay, that's a point in your favor, but I don't like it. she's like, you were right, and I don't like that. It was very funny. But yeah, once she attached to me, it was, we were really close. I was a little closer with her than with the youngest, just because the youngest, I mean, again, a lot of the relationship was me being just a phone. And the youngest kind of, like, the youngest knew it was me, but also, like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen how kids interact with phones. Like, they kind of don't understand how it works. Like, when their first time having a phone call when they're young, they don't really know what to do with it. They're just like, hi, okay, all right, I'm gonna go play now. So the youngest, like, loved when I was there. The youngest was always super happy to see me. But then a little bit of object impermanence, I would leave, and then I was just a voice on the phone again. But the eldest could kind of, understand and talk to me, and we would have a lot of conversations. It was always really funny because, like, they would start talking and then they would like walk away from the phone, and I'm like, guys, I can't follow you. I can't come after you. Like, you gotta come back. I can't hear what you're saying. And they wander back in, finish their sentence, and then wander off again. It's just like, help, I can't follow you. Don't go where I can't follow. Oh God. Good kids. Great kids. The best, actually. I hope someday I can see them again. I hope I can see them before they're adults. Not that I'm, obviously not that I'm going to be ungrateful about, like, being able to see them as adults, but I just wish I could be there for now. Kids grow so fast. Like, every time I visited, it's like, you are so much taller, you are so much older. How did that happen? I was only gone for a month. How? And I can't imagine how grown they must look now, and what kind of people they're turning into. The eldest also apparently very recently came out as bisexual, which, very cool. Very cool. We're pretty sure the youngest is also going to be queer in some way. God, I could talk about this forever. I kind of want to. Maybe I'll make a part 2 of this at some point, talking more about my family. But yeah, I miss them. Every day I miss them. Every day. When I started listening to Hosier's Unreal Unearth, a lot of that music I feel is about them. My favorite song from that album, probably my favorite song of his at all, is Francesca. I think that song encapsulates a lot of the relationship with all of them. Just, there's a lot of things about that relationship that were very hard, most of it being the distance. The distance was so hard. Having to be, I think a lot more science is going to come out about how bad for us touch starvation is, and having to survive in relationships without touch, without kind touch, without loving touch is, I think, really detrimental for us. It almost hurts worse to be loved by people who can't hold you than it is to not have anyone at all. And not saying that I would trade what happened. I wouldn't give that relationship up for anything. If I went back, I would do it again. If you've heard the song Francesca, as hard as that relationship was, it was also one of the most beautiful things I've ever been a part of, and I hope I can have them back in some capacity. It's never going to be the same. It's never going to be that relationship. I don't know if I'm even allowed to call myself the kids' fathers anymore. I don't know if I'm allowed to consider them my kids at all. But loved that family, loved them, loved those kids. I'd do anything to have them back, but I also want to be mindful of boundaries and mindful of their needs in this time. And I mean, it was hard for the kids, for me to be far away. I remember I was going to try to be there for Christmas, I think at the end of 2021. And I had plans to go, but some stuff came up that I couldn't, and the kids found out I couldn't, and they just broke down sobbing, because it'd been so long since I'd been able to visit. And the distance wasn't just hard on me, it was hard on them. And I don't want to put them in that position where they feel the pain of that distance. I don't want to have them be in a position where, because I can't call on the phone every day anymore because I'm not with their parents anymore, I don't want them to feel like I'm far away, because that's just one of the most painful things, is when you love someone so much and they just feel so far away and they feel so distant. It's so painful. I don't want to put them through that again. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I want to write them letters. I want to call them. I want to see them again. But I don't want to cause them more pain. I don't want to make them pawns in a messy breakup. I don't want to somehow pit them against their own parents because their parents need distance from me. It's a really tough position to be in. It's really tough to know what the right call is. Is it worse for me to abandon them, or does it feel like abandonment to them? Do they feel abandoned by me? Because that's what scares me, is that they do, is that they feel like I left them, that I chose to leave them. I would never choose to leave them. I would never give them up for anything. I would have never chosen to leave them if it was my choice. But it was out of my hands, it was out of my control. And I don't know. I'm gonna write a letter, because at least I can do that, but
don't know what the right decision is anymore. I don't want to hurt them further. My biggest fear is abandonment, and I feel so much guilt over abandoning those kids, because it was abandonment. Even if they didn't understand what it was a type of abandonment. And the oldest was always so afraid of abandonment. The oldest was so afraid. And I did leave. It's out of my hands, but if I can... I cry too much. I gotta stop.
This video is absurdly long. I'm scared to see what the timestamp is. If you watch this, thank you. It makes me happy that someone could listen to me tell stories about my family. And there'll probably be more. But yeah. Best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing.